7:30 on ESPN. It is the 10 seed, the Miami Hurricanes. It is the 2 seed, Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State currently favored by about 9 points. Depends where you look. I've seen it at 8.5. I've seen it at 9.5. Let's go with 9. Split the difference.
Okay, a clean 9.
Your over-under is 42.5. For what it's worth, the SP Plus has Ohio State favored by 10.5 points in this game. And notably, the winner is going to play in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Verbo, not a sponsor, could be. Next Thursday, or the following Thursday, I should say, which would be January the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
These teams have only played 5 times in their history. Ohio State leads the series 3-2, although technically it is 2-2 because the win in 2010 was vacated. The other kind of vacation, which I hate. I will say that this game gave me a very strong sense of nostalgia because some of us are old enough to remember the 2003 Fiesta Bowl. That's the one that Ohio State won. I don't know if you remember that game.
Yep.
That game had a heavy influence on me as a college football fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just like the drama of it, but like the Willis McGahee injury in the fourth quarter, which I still remember like it was yesterday. So many memories for me came from that game. And I think played like a large part in me doing this now because I just remember the drama that surrounded it.
I remember where I watched from for sure.
So my big question about this game is whether we're going to see another game of pickleball. We got two awesome
in the way that we
here.
saw from last week, Miami, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Well, weather's not a factor. It's indoors. And I thought weather was a major contributing factor to some struggles. Yeah,
for sure.
And we saw kicking disasters last week, or I guess last round, whatever it is. I think it's a worthwhile question. Continue.
It's a pickleball question, but we got 2 great teams. They just happen to be among the least explosive in college football.
Mm-hmm.
So with that as the backdrop, Dan, what comes to mind first when you're trying to break this game down? Where's your head at?
Is Ohio State not explosive this year? I don't have it in front of me.
No.
Oh, okay. They were more deliberate this year.
They have explosive players.
That's true. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, yards per successful play, 108th in the country. Okay.
Yeah, which I think is probably going to be weird for some people to hear. Like, we don't really talk about Ohio State in those terms.
It was a lot of heavier sets this year. They played slower, so they weren't able to sort of maybe generate plays that ended up with missed tackles because they're playing quicker and wearing down defense, whatever. And that was by design, that they have fresh legs for January. You know, how they beat Washington, how they beat whoever during the regular season is not as important as how they beat, in this case, Miami, as we head into the new year. All worthwhile. So do you want my read on this?
I do. And one final point on the explosiveness thing. It's not everything. It is one of the indicators that I know you and I like to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly doesn't mean that they don't have big plays in them. Okay. We know that they've got big players who can make big plays. But if we take the overall profile of what Ohio State did this season, either because of the heavier sets or playing slower or, maybe a very deliberate effort to try and minimize how many plays they were running, knowing that they were in this thing for the long haul, whatever reason, in terms of all the explosiveness numbers that we look at, they came up much lower this year.
Right.
Miami, maybe for a different reason, is sort of similarly formulated.
Yep.
So with that as the backdrop, yes, take it.
Okay, so if we were finally able to see a weakness in Ohio State, and there's conversations about the Ohio State offensive line during the season, as they were up and down running the ball. I thought they got to a pretty nice place by the end of the season running the ball, but offensive line and the way it was exposed against Indiana, who had Julian Sayin on the run and had him confused, had this offensive line. They had to make changes at halftime, dealing with a beat-up offensive line on the inside a little bit, I believe. That taking that question into a game against Miami's defensive front should be worrying to a certain level. To say Miami's defensive front, especially what they are on the edges, to say that they're legit is sort of underselling. This is an excellent group that can get after a quarterback and cause havoc.
Yeah.
And so my main focus on what Ohio State does when they have the ball is if they do struggle, how do they adjust? How do they adjust to Miami's chaos in a good way? Is it a screen game thing? Is it, going to the perimeter a little bit more? Is it, getting the ball out quickly? Is it more RPO stuff? That to me is a huge question for Brian Hartline and Ryan Day as they call this offense. Brian Hartline, by the way, also the coach of USF as they prepare for this game.
That's right.
You have all sorts of fun. You mentioned the national championship rematch from 20 plus years ago, but like Jeremiah Smith is a Miami and South Florida legend in this one. So there's going to be emotion there from their most explosive player. I think the key for Miami, right, is possessing the ball. They're coming off a game with Mark Fletcher's game of his life on offense. I think when Miami has the ball, it's what are they doing outside of the wizardry of Malachi Toney?
Right.
Last game, it was Mark Fletcher. I think Miami fans are still kind of, if you pulled them aside and say, how'd you feel about that play calling against Texas A&M? I don't think they're super pleased that how long it took to just give Mark Fletcher the ball on the inside with how he was running. And so what does Miami look like creatively? What do they look like on 3rd and 4th and short? How obvious are they in the red zone? There's a good red zone offensive team. I'm not sure I see a way for Miami to win this game if the final score isn't similar to what it was in the
I agree.
The Big Ten championship game for Ohio State.
I agree
that
with
it's
that.
in that 17-13. Because the lack of creative pop from this Miami offense outside of feeding Malachi Toney worries me a little bit. That like we talk about winter wonders, and I just don't think I like some of the younger guys, Gerard Pringle, who was not a factor against Texas A&M. There's a lot to love about this Miami team, but do they have guys who match up with this Ohio State defense in an either like 50-50 way or you can't hang with this guy way? And it's hard to put a plural on guy there. And so
yeah,
I think you need that to get to 27 points to 24 points against this Ohio State defense. And short of Miami fully controlling the rhythm of this game and slowing it down and capitalizing the red zone, turning 4th and 1s into 1st and goals kind of thing and punching it in. It's hard for me to see a way for Miami to get to that, 23, 26 point threshold. And look, Indiana had that blueprint. You can beat Ohio State and keep it a low scoring game and win those moments and hit those big plays and rush the hell out of the passer. I just don't think Miami's built for it in this specific way. I don't think the rust is going to be a huge factor for Ohio State. They showed last year not playing in the Big Ten championship game, came out, on fire at home against Tennessee and then again against Oregon. I think their plan is going to be sound, but this is not an Ohio State team that was built like last year's team in terms of experience, in terms of pop all around. Those running backs were terrific for Ohio State last year in a way that like Bo Jackson can be sometimes, but is not like the star of the show in that same way. So I think Ohio State wins, but I don't see them running away with it because of Miami's defensive front. So in my heart, I have this as like 21-14 Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, look, let me back up a little bit.
Please.
A lot's been said this year about the Ohio State defense being a brick wall. And it's probably the best defense in the country. Would you agree with that?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I think they're incredible. Yeah. And I'm super curious to see how they fare against Miami's line and what they throw at Carson Beck and how they fare against Malachi Toney and how they present some new wrinkles that maybe can confuse what Miami is trying to do. That, to me, is one chess match. I am most interested in something that you mentioned earlier, though.
Okay.
And that is a different kind of challenge for this Ohio State team because of the combination of Miami's physicality and aggressiveness up front.
Yes.
And this isn't to say they haven't played good defenses this year. We know they have. I just think Miami is a very different mix that's going to ask some new questions of Ohio State. How is their line going to deal with Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor? This is a Miami front that is an absolute wrecking ball. As you said, they're a havoc defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up a little bit when Miami played Texas A&M, but Miami is top 20 in the nation in blitzes per dropback. They're also really good at getting pressure without blitzing. And furthermore, this is a playmaking secondary. You are not going to go out there and out-athlete these guys. This is a defensive athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So this, for me, is a really good test of how good Ohio State really is offensively. This is what
Miami's
you
got a
want
lot.
What's that?
I said Miami's defense has a lot. They have a lot to offer athletically on all three levels.
100%. And so I think like this is what you want to see if you're getting to this stage of the playoff. You want to see the best against the best. And I think this is going to be a really interesting test for that Ohio State offense. So I agree with everything you're saying. 100%. If anything, I'm just trying to reinforce it.
Yeah.
I do think if Miami's going to win, they need to play the kind of game that they played against A&M. It needs to be low scoring. It needs to be ugly. And maybe we call it a rock fight. Maybe you call it a slugfest. Maybe you call it defense wins champ. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your preferred nomenclature, it needs to be that style if Miami's going to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, I have been on the fence about this game.
Yeah.
I have been on the fence about this game. And my biggest concern here is that Miami isn't really explosive enough to challenge this Ohio State defense. The counterpoint is, well, I said the same thing against A&M.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
they
on
came
the road.
away.
Yeah.
They came away with more chunk plays in that game. They were the more explosive team against Texas A&M. It's a big part of why they won. I just think this Ohio State defense has played at such a high level. I think Matt Patricia has done an excellent job. Never mind what we thought of the hire when they made it before the season. He has clearly worked out. And I think they're going to be adding new wrinkles to this one here that can confuse Carson Beck, can maybe force him into taking some risks, which is not something I feel great about from afar.
Yeah. All reasonable. I would also add, in terms of Miami's potential favor, is they have a clearly more seasoned quarterback in Carson Beck. For whatever his mistakes have been this year,
they do.
Carson Beck has played in more big games.
Yeah.
Julian Sainz never started a playoff game. He's never won a Big Ten championship at Ohio State. He's beaten good teams. But in terms of a stage like this, Carson Beck has been on it more. And so if you're asking me who has like the potential for a more catastrophic first quarter, I think it's Julian Sainz.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
But to what degree?
This is an Ashanti game, Dan.
Okay.
I was this close to picking Miami outright.
Okay.
And it would not surprise me at all if they actually ended up winning.
Okay.
But it is about trust.
Yeah.
And heaven strike me down.
Yeah.
For saying what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Which coach do you trust more in a big game?
Well, Ryan Day. Yeah.
Trust Ryan Day, man.
Well, there's also the not to cut you off, Ty. Continue if you want to talk more about Ryan Day.
I trust Ryan Day more than Cristobal in a big game.
Okay.
I don't trust Carson Beck with the game on the line, even though he is, as you said, rightfully so. He's a grizzled veteran at this point.
Yeah.
And I trust the Ohio State offense to find a big play more when they need it than I do this version of the Miami offense.
Yeah.
But I think it's a close game. I think it's a good game. I do think it is more defense-minded. I'm on Ohio State 20-16. I've got the Buckeyes moving on to the Fiesta Bowl.
Okay. So that's kind of one touchdown for Miami and 3 field goals pending 2 touchdowns and a safety, I guess. But the concern to just expand on the Julian Sayin thing is just like he's never played on this level, and you're just like, we haven't seen it from Julian Sayin, right? We saw it with, the Michigan game. That was an impressive performance, all things considered, in the weather. We saw them hold on against Texas to start the season. We saw Julian Sayin come up short with the Ohio State offense at the end of the Indiana game. But I'm going to go back to my tried and true. If it's a blowout, I just don't see any way that Miami comes out on top in a blowout. And that's generally where and could be wrong. Miami could win this game 34-10. But if you told me the final score was 34-10 and I could bet $1,000 on who has 34, I think I would go with Ohio State without thinking about it. Right?